Welcome to Inspired by Vu. Today's video is all about understanding food labels. It can be quite overwhelming when we're going to the supermarket and you can just see all these different color-coded things and you're just thinking, I don't understand, what am I looking for? Well, I'm going to help you to understand. Now, food labels are really good for helping us if we're trying to control the amount of calories and consumptions of different particular things that actually can have an impact on our health. And the biggest aspects are your fats, sugars, and salt. Okay, so the food labels are really good at highlighting those, and they've tried to make it easier over the years by introducing the traffic light system. So anything that you can see highlighted in the red, you know that's highlighted as something that is a product that's high in either fats, salt or sugars, or low, it's highlighted in a green, or an amber, which is kind of like a borderline product. So let's look at a few examples. I've got some cards from the help of the British Heart Foundation. So let's look at, a low fat spread. Can you see it? Yeah, low fat spread, brilliant. So you can see on this particular card, you can see that for it scores high in fats, saturated fats and salt, okay? Why? Because total fats, we're looking at less. If it's less than 17.5, then that's considered as a moderate. If it's about sort of between 3 and 5 grams, that's in the green, that's good. But it's recorded as high fat because anything greater than 17.5 is classed as high. Okay? Saturated fat. Now I'll do a separate video all about what saturated fat is, but basically the properties of saturated fat is that it's solid at room temperature, and consuming high amounts of saturated fat in your diet can increase your risk of having a cardiovascular related event, so heart attack, stroke and all the rest of that. Okay, so we know that a low fat spread is obviously going to have a high amount of fat. In terms of sugars, you can see that that's highlighted as a low. Okay, it's only 0.5 grams per 100 grams. And in terms of salt, again, that's highlighted as a high amount. Why don't we contrast this with another product? So this is a low fat spread. Let's compare that with some butter. Let's look at the butter. So side by side, we have per 100 grams, everything scores exactly in the same ratings for fats and salt. However, the butter comes out higher because that's 81.7 grams per 100 grams. In contrast to the low fat spread, which was half of that. When we look at saturated fats, there's a lot more in the butter, that's 54 grams per 100 grams, compared to the 11.2 with the low fat spread. And if we look at salt, the difference is not a huge amount. It's 1.6 for the low fat and 1.9 for the butter. Okay, so if we're thinking about, making wise choices, you'd obviously want to go for the one that has the least amount. So a tip for using food labels is you can use it to compare like for like. So if you're looking at butters or spreads, compare with a range and just look at the one that has the least amount. Yeah, why don't we look at another product? Let's look at coconut milk and soya milk. Okay, so this coconut milk, I believe they're referring to the ones in the tin. Yeah, so that kind of canned one that you tend to use in curries and all of that. And then we've got some soy milk here. Now already, I don't know if you can see, but the soya milk obviously is scoring a lot better because everything is recorded as low. It's low in fats, sugars and salt. Okay, so let's do the comparison. So the soya milk is at 1.2 grams. In contrast to the coconut milk, which is 18.7 grams. Okay, so obviously we're not going to really be going for much of that. In terms of saturated fats, only 0.2 with the soya milk, 17.8 for the coconut milk. In terms of sugars, 1.3 for coconut milk and 0.1 for the soya milk. And then the salt, just marginal difference, not really much difference at all. It's none for the coconut milk, but 0.1 for the soy milk. So if we're going to look at products you know, in terms of similar strands, obviously we're going to go for the soy milk in this round. So soy milk wins. Let's look at another example. We'll do full fat milk versus skimmed milk. Let's have a look. So full fat milk is exactly that. It's full of fat, okay? And it's the whole milk. So if we're looking at the back of that, you can see compared to the skimmed milk, okay, which has a lot of that taken off, yeah, the skim milk obviously records a lot better because everything's recorded all low, but with the full fat, it scores as mediums and lows. So let's look at the breakdown. So for the full fat milk, in terms of the fats, it's 3.9 compared to 0.1 for the skimmed milk. Okay, saturated fat, 2.4 grams. In the skim milk, it's 0.1. So we know what the winner is so far. In terms of sugars, full fat milk scores actually scores lower, so that's 4.8 in sugars, whereas the skimmed milk has 5. Okay, and the salt is more or less the same. So there are some bits where you think, oh, that's a little bit better, and not. Okay, but what I would do is I would definitely go for the skim milk if I was a dairy person, but because I'm vegan, I will not be having either option. So let's look at fruit. Let's look at different fruits. Now, a lot of people give, I feel like fruit is starting to have a bad rep at the moment, and that, oh, well, fruit causes you to gain weight and stuff like that. Different factors depending on what your goal is. But let's look at, if we're going to look at, you know, comparisons, tropical fruits, we're going to look at bananas and mangoes. Which one do you think is going to do better or worse? Okay, let's have a look. So, the banana, okay, ooh, the banana scores reds when it comes to sugars. So per 100 grams, the banana actually scores higher. Strange that, because I always find that mangoes are a lot sweeter. But anyway, the banana is 20.9 per 100 grams, and with the mango it's 13.8. Yeah, so already we know that in the sugars, we know who's the winner. Salt, both on the same par, and the same for saturated fats. The banana comes out a little bit higher, only just, in terms of total fats, which is 0.3 compared to the 0.2. So it's always nice when you're going to do that, do comparisons. Let's think of something else. Cured meat, so your salami and stuff like that. Now I'm going to put it out there because it's not only just vegans that actually watch my channel. Okay, so let's look at cured milk, cured meats compared to grilled chicken breast. Which one do you think is going to come out better? Okay, so it's actually the grilled chicken breast. So let's look at the why. So let's start off with cured milk. Why am I saying cured milk? The cured meat, obviously I don't eat the stuff. It scores as 32 grams per 100 grams compared to the low in fat 2.2 with the grilled chicken breast. Okay, in terms of saturated fats, this scores at 9.6, this one only 0.9, this one being the chicken. Sugars, the cured meats comes up higher as 0.5 compared to none in the chicken breast. In terms of salt, obviously the cured meats has a lot more, and it has 4.3 grams per 100 compared to the 0.1. And what's helping the chicken in this competition here is that it's grilled chicken breast. Now obviously the results will change depending on how you're preparing the particular meat. Okay, but it's definitely worth having a look at. Do fish. We're going to look at mackerel and whitefish. Which one do you think's gonna win? Let's have a look. Okay, so it's the whitefish. The whitefish seems to score better in terms of being low, but in terms of additional stuff, which we'll talk about in a second. So, in terms of fats, the whitefish is at 0.6, and the mackerel, compared to the mackerel, which is 16.3. Okay, in terms of saturated fats, this is 3.3, the mackerel. The whitefish is 0.1. The sugars, same, and salt is the same. Now what I will say in terms of, so you'd probably look at that and just think, oh, I'm going to go for the whitefish. However, mackerel is a really great source of omega-3. And the great thing about mackerel, it is a naturally oily fish. Okay, so the great thing about mackerel is that it helps to boost your HDL, which is your good cholesterol, your heroes. And you know, eating grilled mackerel is going to be better for you as opposed to having it fried. If you're going to go for mackerel, you want to go for the one that is fresh, or you can go for the one in the tin, but make sure it's in the brine and not in sunflower oil or the additional oils that they're coating it in. Because if it's naturally oily, and you'll find that even once you put these things in the oven, okay, you'll see that the natural oils actually comes out. Again, I don't actually eat fish, but I have to put it out there because it's not just vegans that are watching this channel. So, Cuarant bun versus ginger cake. Who do you think's gonna win? Wah, wah, wah. It is. Well, what do you think? Okay, so in terms of the Cuarant bun, in terms of fats, total fats, this is 7.5 compared to the 10.8. Okay, and so they're both medium, but obviously this one is scoring a bit higher in terms of total fats. In the saturated fats, yay, no saturated fats in the Cuarant bun, but in the ginger cake there is 3.3 grams per 100 grams. Sugars, the Cuarant bun is less because that's 15.1 compared to the 36.6 in the ginger cake. Salt, Cuarant bun is scoring less again, so that's 0.6 compared to the 0.8. So I think we have a winner, babe. If you're going to compare between the two, go for the Cuarant bun. So I hope you found this useful. Thanks to the British Heart Foundation and their Healthy Hearts Kit, you know, it comes with a lot of these useful cards that are often used when I'm working with my clients. But if you're interested in finding out more about the Healthy Hearts Kit and maybe possibly how you could get trained or more information, I'll put it in the description box below. Well, I hope you found this video useful, guys, and keep watching my channel, like and subscribe, and tell all your friends. Thank you. Bye.